Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and DriveThruRPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order by site, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Swarms of the Multiverse, offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms. Plus, you get instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus material such as 4 new demiplanes. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take your potions to the next level in your game. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. Please support the channel by purchasing one of our books using the links in the video description. Before we check out the new releases this week, let's talk about the exclusive Splinterverse discount on all of our social media channels. It's Saoirse's Crafting Field Guide for 5th edition from Knaves and Saves author John McLeod. And it's a really fun book that has a pair of crafting systems and a fantasy generic set of crafting reagents for use in Dungeons & Dragons. It gives you the power to expand crafting in your gaming world, and it's designed to be future-proof, so as things change, it should still work with whatever evolutions 5th edition takes. And it's 82 pages, including crafting recipes for every standard magic item, recipe creation rules for any 5th edition magic item you can dream up, 2 new crafting systems, over 100 new items, 56 herbs, legendary potions, planner potions, and even a crafting tool belt character sheet. So lots of good stuff inside. And to add to it, there's a percentage of all profits are donated to the Worldwide Fund for Nature. The product is normally $10, but through the Splinterverse discount program, you're going to get 30% off of that. So that's a screaming deal. And let's look inside. So you can see it's got a really nice layout, easy to read font here. And it goes through all the different sections. So you've got new craftable items, standard item crafting recipes, building crafting recipes, even some new monsters like the Dream Eater Worm and the Vishar. And then it goes into like why this book exists and finding reagents in the world. And then the first chapter that you can see in here is on reagents. It says the method for collecting reagents differs based on what is being collected. For herbs, this is a survival roll and then a 1d100 chance roll to see what herbs can be found. In the case of creature parts, it works differently. Each section covers a system. So you can collect herbs, you can collect creature parts. So if you got somebody out there who really likes crafting in video games or has asked about crafting in D&D, this is going to be right up their alley. So it goes into collecting herbs here. It says collecting herbs requires a survival check with a DC of 15. Adding your proficiency modifier if you're proficient with an herbalism kit. Whether this roll succeeds or not, roll on the mishap table to see if you run into any trouble. If the survival check was successful, you then roll 1d100 on one of the environmental tables, depending on where you happen to be, and then you determine which herb you find based on that roll. You find one herb and select one of its listed uses to record on your crafting sheet. So yeah, it gets very detailed on what you can find, and you've got druids can roll on a different table than what the environment calls for, but are only capable of gathering herbs in the 1 to 880 range. And then rangers can roll twice on the mishap table and take either result. So you've got different types and strengths. You've got toxins, medicines, drugs, weapon enhancement, and magical herbs. And then you get to see a little bit of some of the fun herbs here. So we'll read a couple of those for you. So you've got Ashgrove Leaves, which is a magic type of herb. It says the ashgrove is a pale tree often mistaken for a bush, given its small size with hard bark found near volcanic activity. Errant rangers often remark that when one emerges, it is an omen for rumblings beneath the ground or a potential volcanic event. Its leaves carry a distinctive coating of ash that can be refined into a powder for future use. And then let's look at the Crest Kiss. It's a drug, and it's also a toxin. It says this is a resilient shrub that tends to grow anywhere, including inhospitable environments, being often found alongside rocky hills and valleys. It is sometimes seen in the cracks of cobblestone roads. So you can see you get all these little descriptions of these fantasy herbs. I mean, just even knowing about the plants. I mean, if you wanted to, if the players are just looking around and saying, oh, what kind of plants are around here? I mean, a lot of these go into details on the plants themselves. I guess herbs are plants, but we tend to think of herbs as like the product of a plant, right? So this gives you a way to talk about the scenery in more detail and say, oh yeah, you just ran into this crest kiss bush, and it's okay. It's a resilient shrub. Don't worry about it. So you've got all this background that people, I think, brings these worlds to life. I mean, if it's always just a normal forest, it's not always going to feel fantastical. So having just names of different plants, I think, is going to help shape your narrative. So very cool. There's so many things in this book. I mean, 82 pages on crafting. I mean, that's massive. And to get it 30% off, I mean, that's huge. So you'll want to click the link. It's in the timestamps. It's the very first one in the timestamp list. It's also in the pinned comment in the alphabetical list under Saoirse's crafting field guide. Give it a click. Our first new release is 101 Trinkets of the Radiant Citadel, because this week Wizards of the Coast released Journeys of the Radiant Citadel. I'm sorry, Journeys of the, what is the title? I always get it mixed up. I think it's Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel or To the Radiant Citadel, one of those. Anyway, so you're going to see a number of books this week that tie into that awesome book. I got it, and I've been flipping through it, and it's just a really fun book. There's so many different writers involved, and there's just a lot of cool locations and places to go in that book. So it's nice to see that there's third-party people out here supporting that work as well by creating works like this, which is just some trinkets to go along with it. So always can use more trinkets. This title is by David Stevens. It's $1.50, 10 pages, and David does a ton of books on trinkets. So the trinkets are great because they can be used for this particular connected piece, the Radiant Citadel book, or they can be used elsewhere because they're really, really interesting. So looking in here, we're going to read just a couple of them for you because we want you to get the book and read them all on your own. But here's one. It says, a small clay figurine of a deity said to be worshipped by one of the lost cultures of the Radiant Citadel. And then you've got a blue pennant bearing the emblem of the shield bearers. And you've got a group of 3 copper bangles. A bamboo cup with a character for rain in red on the side. And a wooden sign that says the Happy Unicorn Common House. So you see, and you can see 79 of the trinkets in the preview. So you should definitely come here and read through that. So these could be trinkets connected to the Radiant Citadel or that are just found in a room. Maybe you want to have some random thing in a blank room on your map, make the players think something more is in there, and it's just a random, the only thing in the room is just a random thing. Just to kind of keep them on their toes. Are they, checking for traps, looking for weird stuff, and it just is a trinket lying on the floor. So these trinket books, I think, are good even for populating dungeons, putting them in the loot of monsters and enemies, and of course, giving to your players. So check it out under 101 Trinkets of the Radiant Citadel. Give it a click. Next, we got Arise, My Cauldronborn, a Handbook of Reanimation from Daylight Publications, $6 for 16 pages. And this book is all about reanimation. There's this notion of Cauldronborn, and it's for high-level play. And it's about rituals to basically, reanimate. And so it's very colorful with lots of artwork. And so this is talking about how you basically create a Cauldronborn. So it says all peoples have their own versions of the trusty cauldron. Amongst orcs, they are thought to be representations of the hunger of their deities and the fires of war. To halflings, they are the tools to bring bickering family members together. And for many humans who follow the arcane arts, they are the souls of dark magics. But for every simple pot, there is something greater. Many cultures throughout the multiverse have legends and stories of this great artifacts, often called 𝙤𝙤𝙀𝙁. These are massive things as wide as several grown bodies with the thick, stubby legs holding them aloft. One famous example is the dark cauldron of the ancient god Arwen, said to dump the bodies of his dead warriors to resurrect them into deathless warriors known as Cauldronborn. So talks about the history of that, and then how to create this. This is when the reanimation process is complete and the new Cauldronborn has awakened from their long slumber. They might appear normal at a distance. Upon coming closer, one will begin to see the new countenance they bear. But it is not only visual changes, but the Cauldronborn themselves must now live two lives and have two memories, which is called the bleeding effect. So they're having to deal with their old and their new lives. And then you've got these sort of ritual chants that you can do as part of creating a Cauldronborn. And then here you get into the different traits that go along with that new race or lineage. In this case, could be so you're considered undead as well as humanoid, and it goes into what you have to do to eat. You don't need to eat, sleep, all that stuff. And then you got health. When you would earn health from level ups, you only earn half. Additionally, if you are to receive healing, you only receive half of that. Shadow. When you enter shadows of darkness, your undead nature becomes more prominent as wraith-like wafts of necrotic energy around you, attempting to pull you into the darkness. You are considered invisible, and if you end your turn within a shadow, you can make a single bonus action. So that's pretty cool. Definitely diving into the creepy nature of the Cauldronborn. And then true death. Given that you've already been resurrected once, the magics of the Bestiary pull a heavy toll on your spirit and body, and returning you to it. Should you be reduced to 0 hit points in your new form, then you are truly and completely dead. Your form crumbles into ash, oozing the materials used to bring you back to life. Any armor or gear or weapons you carried remain behind. And then it shows you the materials you need and the ritual you have to do, and what your form is. And this is for fighters, monks, and rogues. And then down here under bards, wizards, sorcerers, warlocks, you have the Stabor. And it goes through what your form looks like. So slight differences in appearance and the ritual as well as the materials needed based on your class. So pretty cool. And you can see the whole book here. You can read through it and just kind of see if this is going to work for you. Even if you just take a few little things out of here, some of the materials needed or these verses, it could be worthwhile to grab this. And I think the art is a lot of fun too, just to look at. So give it a click. It's under Arise My Cauldronborn in the links below. Next, we got Dungeons with Plumbing, a guide for the practical dungeoneer. Advice and resources for building realistic dungeons. And it says the dungeon is a living, thriving environment full of creatures that mostly need to eat, drink, and breathe. How do they get their fresh air? Where does their energy come from? And where do they go when they need to go? When you ask yourself these questions, your dungeon becomes more alive and tangible. In this book, you'll find a wealth of ideas and provocations to help you transform your subterranean spaces, from the physics of cave formation to the ecology of underground plants, from the reproductive habits of purple worms to the timekeeping systems of the drow. You will discover how the Underdark is periodically overrun by census-taking modrons or swarms of blind locusts, and the mystery of D&D's confusing economics is finally cleared up. And because these are fantasy worlds, throughout you will also find dozens of new monsters, NPCs, and magic items with an exotic but practical flavor. So much fun stuff, it sounds like. And it is 56 pages by Danny Kodasek. And looking inside, we've got a $7.99 price point. We've got all the different sections. So this is all about dungeon engineering, like cave formation, tunnel networks, termite mounds, mines, underbuildings, And then underground ecology, including plants and herbivores, etc., and then predators, etc. And then you get into chapter 3, dealing with the society, in subterranean areas like demographics, ideals, daily life, etc. And then magic items and useful things that connect to this stuff. So they're giving you an index here of monsters you might find, or NPCs or spells, etc., because those are going to be sprinkled throughout the book, and so they're just kind of organizing them here for you. So if you're like, oh, I know there was a magic item called Orb of Magic Storage, I don't remember where it was, you can just come to this table of contents and find that, and that's super helpful. I think more books need to do that. We do that in our books for Splinterverse, and it's great to see it done here. So more authors need to do that. All right, so you've got introduction, goes into Fox 6, and non-magical Fox 6, or Foe 6. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I mean, this word is foe, so maybe Foe 6. I'm not sure. It says, it's tempting to say that in a world containing magic there are no physical laws, but that isn't true. In fact, the game we are playing depends on that being the case. Every time we roll the dice to determine damage, we are accepting the existence of laws that govern the world our characters inhabit. And different as that world may be from our own, certain truths remain the case. Water flows downhill, fire makes things hot, acid corrodes, etc. So we expect even a fantasy world to bear some resemblance to our own reality, and although its laws may be different, we like them to have some regularity that we can grab hold of and understand. As we venture beyond the material plane, we expect things to become a bit weirder. So yeah, it's just going into all this stuff about dealing with the laws of physics and how it could be different. So because there's this concept of physics. So in D&D, there's a clear distinction between two kinds of physics. On the one hand, you have the natural physics of the world as experienced by ordinary people from day to day. On the other, you have the violations of it, known of the physics that are known as magic. So it's just talking about how magic makes physics function a little differently, basically. And then you get into dungeon engineering, enhanced caves of the Underdark, designing a cave, very helpful. Monster excavators. So, a lot of the tunnels that you encounter underground are not just natural. They're excavated by burrowing monsters like giant ants, etc. And then you got some information on termite mounds, including a giant venomous termite. And then you got the fan spider, CR1, purple worm tunnels, beholders. So lots of fun stuff to read in here. And then it's got a little sidebar here. It says worm wranglers. As purple worms hunt by vibration using their tremor sense, an interesting possible option for creating a more complex purple worm dungeon would be to imagine someone using sound lures to encourage them to tunnel to a particular places. Fans of Dune might appreciate the following magic items. So then they have this magic item called Thumper. These small devices can be placed in pairs in nearby locations. When activated, they create pulses of vibration that attract nearby purple worms. As a result of the particular vibration patterns, worm always approaches the thumpers in a predictable direction, creating a straight tunnel from one to the other. Once swallowed, the thumpers start to beat more actively, causing discomfort to the worm, which then tunnels away from that location as swiftly as it can. The thumpers can be retrieved when they are excreted 1 to 2 days later. So, fun way to deepen the purple worm connections and lore in your story. So, this whole book is just about doing that. Bringing detail and deepening this stuff, because a lot of times it's just surface. Oh, here's the map, here's all this stuff I plopped in it, but I don't know where it came from, how it got here, why it's here. So this book is really encouraging you to answer that why question and how questions, and just really have a more holistic approach to your dungeons. So check it out. It's under Dungeons with Plumbing in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we've got Escape from Shurrock. This one connects to Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel as well. And it's by T.M. Van Dalen, $3.99 for 16 pages. Already a best copper seller. It says, save an innocent variant in this multiversal planner prison break adventure. This adventure is designed for journeys through the Radiant Citadel setting and is intended to give your players an extra optional adventure. It brings your party in contact with 𝙤𝙤𝙤, a gnome that made a dark deal with a powerful fiend. He asked them to rescue another version of himself, another 𝙤𝙤𝙤 that was captured due to a multiversal mishap from Shurrock, one of the layers of the twin paradises of Biotopia. And it's a 2 to 4 hour adventure for tier 2 characters, optimized for average party level of 10. It has enough material for a full session depending on how thorough your party is. Alternatively, it can be a standalone adventure for players who are not familiar with the journey through Radiant Citadel. So you get a printer-friendly version, and you also get a high-res prison map, which is really, really cool. So let's look inside. So you've got your intro, your background, running the adventure, and then you get right into the 2 chapters for the adventure, and then you get your maps and handouts. And so it talks about the alternate 𝙤𝙤𝙤, and then goes into a little bit about the plane of Biotopia and the adventure hook, as well as some variant on the adventure hook, so you can quest for the Finnick. And then you got experience points, adventure synopsis, and then you get right into chapter 1, and it says, planar travel isn't an exact science. Whether they travel by gate or by magical means, when the party arrives in Biotopia, they land on the plane of Dothian. Their destination, the prison mine where 𝙤𝙤𝙤 is trapped, is located on Shurrock. To get there, they will have to locate a way to cross the empty sky and safely land on the other side. This section gives guidance for how to handle travel on Dothian, the journey between the layers, and travel on Shurrock. And then it's even got some random encounters. And this barn repair section is right here at the beginning. It says the characters encounter a group of gnomes that are in the process of repairing a barn. The group consists of 10 commoners. The gnomes are installing stabilizers in the barn, which should keep the barn standing for longer and require less maintenance going forward. If the characters offer to help with repairs, they could spend the day working with the gnomes. In return, the gnomes offer a place to sleep in the newly repaired barn and a warm meal. Any character that participated in the repair and slept in the barn wakes up feeling refreshed from the satisfaction of a job well done, gaining an inspiration die. Once within the next 8 hours, the character can roll a d6 and add a number rolled to one ability check, attack roll, or saving throw. So cool to get a little inspiration. And then you got something called a lazy river. As the characters come close to a river, they hear shouting in the distance. From a distance, you hear voices. Lazy bums, one calls out. Why don't you make yourselves useful for a change? You hear another one yell. If they approach, they see that the source of the noise is a group of 5 gnomes standing on the bank of the river. They're shouting at 3 gnomes that are lazily drifting down the river, enjoying the weather. If the characters would like to keep the pace and calm down the angry group of gnomes, they must make a persuasion check. If the characters join in with the hecklers, they are invited to help with chores to earn a hearty meal. So some fun interactions with gnomes, and that's just getting you started. Then you get into some encounters with dire wolves and fire elementals as you cross the sky. And then you get to Shurrock. There's an ape attack, a tiger. I mean, there's all kinds of different things going on in here. And then, of course, you got to get to the planar prison to get the variant release. So you got to go through all of that, which is pretty cool looking too, because you've got all different locations and several maps, and including that high-res one that you can use for VTT. So lots of fun. If you want even more Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel goodness, this is one of the first titles released to connect to it. So very cool to see third-party publishers tying in and giving you more options, because that's one of the beauties of these sites, right, is that you can buy these Wizards books and then expand what you have available. Even if you just want to have it on hand, if your players really get into the Radiant Citadel and you want to just keep going, then you can have this to just keep the adventure alive. And it's called Escape from Shurrock, so look for it in the links below and give it a click. Next, we've got Journeys Beyond the Radiant Citadel, and this is written by basically the folks that wrote the material for Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel. So you have that official Wizards release, and then this is a direct tie-in, and it's got expanded lore and encounters to go along with the main book. So very, very cool. I was so excited to see this come out because, the Radiant Citadel book has just so many different places for people to discover. And so when you have new places, it's helpful to keep fleshing those out and helping people understand more about those locations. And I'm sure there was stuff they couldn't fit in the main book because, you know, with these Wizards releases, they have a budget, they have a limited number of space, number of pages. And so having a supplemental book like this allows them to just go beyond that, and rightfully so. It's called Journeys Beyond the Radiant Citadel, right? So that they can really expand and give you even more fun stuff for this new setting. So it's by Anthony Joyce Rivera, Dominic Dickey, 𝙤𝙘𝙧𝙬𝙧, George, Bashir Gauss, Agistor Guzman, Taylor Navarro, Mario Ortegon, Pam Punzalan, and Aaron Roberts, and Terry H. Romero. I apologize if I mispronounced any of those, but I wanted to say all of them because I think it's exciting to see that crew sticking together and continuing to work together. And it's already a best silver seller. So it's $9.95 for 31 pages. And it says it is a companion, of course, to Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel that includes expanded gazetteers of 7 of the lands that are first introduced in that book. And it's got 22 people of color from around the world involved. And we hope you take a moment to see the new lands and artwork created to inspire you and those around your gaming table. Included in this team are 7 of the writers from the original book, each providing additional material to build upon the lands they've created. Inside these pages, you'll find expanded lore, thrilling encounters, intriguing adventure hooks, and a new magic item to enhance your experience with that book. And then there are 16 pieces of original art as well. So fun stuff. And it's just, again, so cool to see this team sticking together and providing more material. And you can see it's hyperlinked because as I'm hovering over things, they're kind of shifting. So that's awesome. That means that when you get this, you'll be able to click through and get to the different parts of the book. So you can see 𝙁𝙗𝙗 𝙁𝙗𝙗𝙗, gosh, I can't say it today, 𝙭𝙗𝙗𝙗 gazetteer and God's Breath gazetteer. So all kinds of gazetteers, and then you got the new magic item and a map at the end. So just fun stuff, and I love the layout. It looks so gorgeous, and getting to read some more. There's a nice intro talking about the project, and then you get right into the gazetteer with the fun artwork. There's just really great artwork throughout this. And it has that feel of the Radiant Citadel book, so it really goes well with it. You could set them side by side, and they just look so complementary to each other, which is always so nice. So you've got this whole wonderful gazetteer here you can see for 𝙁𝙗𝙗𝙗, and then you get into the next one, 𝙭𝙗𝙗𝙗𝙗, with just can't say enough about the art. It's really cool. And then God's Breath gazetteer with some deities, which is really nice. And then you got a background called Proclaimer. So just all sorts of treasures await you in here, and you get to look through the whole book before you purchase. And see, here's this really cool map at the end. And then here's your new magic item, the Lens of Identifying. So yeah, let's just find some things to read here for you. There's just so many to choose from. I don't know where to start. Let's look at the Sensa Empire. So the Sensa Empire is powered by gold, which is mined within each of its 3 city-states and racked by competition as the city-states vie for greater influence. The Empire stands on the precipice of a dangerous power transition, and ancient monsters, magic, and plagues threaten to rise again. So really cool, just sort of that innate conflict there with that power transition in the background. That's going to lead to some fun role play. So you got the history of the Empire, and then the Empire today, and then you get this whole sidebar on one of the people that's there, including their bonds, personality traits, ideals, and flaws, and then another couple people. And then you get an adventure table. So it says, consider incorporating the plots of the Sensa Empire adventures table when planning adventures there. So you've got Prince Karina of Nibba hires the party to protect him from Afrit on his pilgrimage to the tomb of the Faceless. So that could be really cool. Afrit are a lot of fun. And then piles of gold have begun to disappear from Anissa's gold warren between shifts. The only witness states that were hyenas are behind the theft. So that could be cool too. And I love how themed these are. These really fit with the setting. Sometimes you get a table like this and it's just kind of like, well, you could really place this anywhere, but they've done such a good job connecting and weaving in these characters so you can see the proper names in all of these. I mean, you got the Azure Dome, 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙧𝙬, Zara. These are names that you read elsewhere in this. And then here's a little encounter, it looks like. And just some fun stuff. You can rewind a riot here. It says, while in Turek, a riot breaks out at the Arum Guild protest. King 𝙤𝙤𝙀 refuses to negotiate with the Union until the instigators are found and punished for destruction of property. However, 𝙤𝙤𝙀 has made unreasonable demands to forestall negotiations in the past, and goodwill on both sides of the conflict is wearing thin. The characters are approached either by the king or by the Arum Guild ombudsman, 𝙤𝙤𝙘, for assistance. A successful persuasion check convinces 𝙤𝙤𝙀 that punishing the rioters isn't the best course of action, though good roleplay may grant advantage or even make the role unnecessary. So really cool. And it goes into more details about, the source of the violence, etc. But I mean, I'm just loving all this stuff. And that's just one. We just looked at one. I would love to read all of this to you. But I mean, there's just so many fun things. I mean, they've got these deities in here, like 𝙤𝙤𝙀𝙀. See, I need this. 𝙤𝙤𝙀. It helps me pronounce this stuff. A deity of purpose and anger, looks kindly on bold actions, but punishes those who seek to inflict harm rather than create change. And then it's got its domains, its colors and symbols and alignment. So very, very fun. This is really, I think, a must have if you're going to do anything with Journeys through the Radiant Citadel. And I think it's just great to support these creators. I mean, let them know by purchasing this that you really appreciate that they took it further than the book, that they decided to do additional material at release so that you had so much support getting into your Radiant Citadel adventures. And you can let them know that by giving it a purchase right now, and leave them a comment, leave them a review, let them know, follow them on social media, all that good stuff, because we need these creators to just feel supported and continue making great stuff for all of us to enjoy. So check it out. It's in the links below under Journeys Beyond the Radiant Citadel. Give it a click. Next, we got Loremaster from John Bryan. It's $2.95 for 5 pages. And it says, as a Loremaster Fighter, your keen eye reveals your foe's abilities and weaknesses and how to counter them. Once you study your mark, you wield your knowledge as deadly as any weapon. So you get a full NPC stat block inspired by the subclass and a custom background as a fighting instructor, along with a custom feat to get a taste of the Loremaster's abilities. So very cool. So you can see in the table of contents, they've got all the abilities listed, and then you've got a custom background, a magic item, a feat, and an NPC. So just so much stuff for you. So with the early abilities, you're getting a proficiency in either insight, history, or perception. Then you can basically study a creature, and you learn about its vulnerabilities, its resistances, its damage immunities, condition immunities, etc. And it becomes like what they call your studied mark. And then you get advantage on a skill check against it for charisma. And then they build upon that with you being able to aim for a blow for maximum effect against it. So you get to make an extra attack and all that good stuff. And then as you level, when you get to the 7th level, you get a proficiency bonus doubling on your whichever one you picked, insight, history, or perception. And then you can analyze the attack patterns of other creatures to provide warning of when they're going to strike. So when your study mark attacks you or another creature, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on that attack. And then it says, after studying the creature at 10th level, you find weak points in their defense. At the start of your turn, you can name a damage type. Your study mark loses any damage resistance to the next attack or spell with that damage type within 1 minute. And if they're immune, the ability has no effect. So only if they have a resistance, basically, is that gonna help you. And then you can further anticipate with these future abilities. But since you can read the whole book, I don't want to read those for you. I want you to come read about the higher level abilities. But then there's a feat, there's a custom background, there's a magic item, there's even an NPC that has the traits and abilities, so you can use it as a DM. And then it says here there's this magic item called the Retort. Retort has been wielded by the professor for decades. It's a scabbard. It's decorated like an academic robe. You have a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with this magic weapon. And then it's got multiple traits. I'm not going to read all of them, but it finds weak points in your target's defenses. When you hit a creature with an attack, it takes an additional 1d6 psychic damage. Analyze weaknesses. When you hit a creature with Retort, you can expend 1 charge to name a damage type. The next attack or spell with that damage type to hit the creature within 1 minute ignores resistance. So it's like some of the features of the class are built into this weapon, which is pretty cool. It's got sentience and a personality. And as I said, you also get an NPC. So I love that there's all this bonus material. So then it's not just for the players, it's for the DM as well, and gives you lots of options to bring a lore master into the fight as an NPC or a villain or a sidekick or whatever you want to make with it. Not just players making characters, which could also be really fun with this. So check it out. It's under Lore Master in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we have Monster Loot, Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel. So another great tie-in with the Radiant Citadel this week. So Anne Gregerson has a series called Monster Loot, and it's focused on basically as a DM preparing you for what you would find on a creature, as you know, if your players are searching the corpse of a creature that they've killed, and Anne is going book by book, so you can see down here all the different ones in the Monster Loot series to kind of prepare you. So all you need is the book in question plus this book to really have everything you need to so, okay, here's what the loot would be, and you don't have to look it up, you don't have to make it up on the fly, you don't have to risk accidentally giving the wrong kind of loot or something that's OP, right? So there's a number of new monsters and Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, and so each of those is covered here, and then of course there's a bunch referenced from the monster manual as well, so Anne has included loot for those as well. So whatever monster that is referenced in the entirety of Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, if one of your players kills it or incapacitates it, the loot on that creature is going to be in here. So you have those opportunities to and there's even some harvesting that can be done if you want to include harvesting to get things off the monster as well. So really cool. And just even having some of these things have value. You've got the Aurum Vex for X hide. 4 hides can be crafted into leather armor or studded leather armor. And then you've got teeth. The teeth can be used as the tip of an arrow or a crossbow bolt. Ranged attacks that use ammunition made from these teeth deal an additional 1d4 damage on hit. After the ammunition has been fired, it loses its property. And then there's, of course, 1d4 rations on it. These creatures have to eat, right? So then maybe they're edible, or maybe, that could even be a story point. Maybe the characters think the rations of some of these creatures taste terrible, but at least it's sustenance, right? So there's a spirit cloth that can be crafted into a bag of holding. Vials of ectoplasm, when consumed, you can see into the ethereal plane for an hour. Just all kinds of fun little things waiting in here. I mean, you could put that on any creature. You could even just, cover up the name and give this loot list to a homebrew creature. So many uses for this. If you want to use the harvesting and crafting mechanics, you can use that, or you can just say, hey, if you skin the hide, you can sell it for basically 55 GP. However you want to use this. There's a lot of flexibility, but what's beautiful is that every single monster is covered. So whether you want to, again, cover up the name and use it for a homebrew creation, or if you want to use it with Journey Through the Radiant Citadel, you have both those options, because it's been released in a timely manner, same time as Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, which is really cool. So I think you should check it out. It's under Monster Loot, Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we've got Monsters Unleashed, Tome of Tyranny, and it's by Leo Parlow and Green Mountaineers Publishing. It's $3.99 for 20 pages. And it's Green Mountaineers says it's the first in a line of products designed to give DMs a myriad of foes for their players to face. Each issue is designed to be just short enough for you to flip through easily and just long enough to be worth your money. It says, do you have multiple miniatures for the same creature? Are you a massive fan of older editions? And are you sad your favorite baddies didn't make it into the current system? If either of the previous are true, or you just love monsters, then this book is for you. So there's new mechanics such as monster combat roles, minions, group attacks, solo and elite monsters, and even a revitalized monster design created to specifically help DMs run their games with more ease. So they're experimenting with some monsters here. They're bringing back monster roles, which, there was something like that in 4th edition. So it goes through here all the different roles. So you got artillery, brute, controller, minion, leader, lurker, skirmisher, and soldier. So I think that's more than what they had in 4th edition, but I didn't play 4th, so I can't say for sure. And then it goes in through minions, explanations of what they would do, solo and elite monsters, and then it just talks about how they've done a revitalized design. So it says, rather than relying on proficiency bonuses, ability scores, and other tedious rulings, we chose to opt for a more thematic creation process. For instance, a Hunter Hawk doesn't need to have a special feature listed in a stat block explaining that it has superior vision to other creatures. Most DMs will recognize this and understand that this bonus is unique to that creature. And then it also uses the bloodied condition. So you can see here it's going into Aurora Guards, which is some variants on Aarakocra. And so you've got a challenge level 5, 1/2, and this one's a 2. So you're getting, a variety of CRs, which is always helpful. And then you got Aboleth, and you get variations. So you get 14 and a 10 here. But what I want you to also notice, under speed here in the stat block, it says roll solo controller. And then down here on Aboleth Servitor, it says roll minion. So you're also getting kind of an idea of what kind of things it'll do. And it even says in the stat block here, minion, if the minion takes damage from a successful attack roll or failed saving throw, it dies. If the minion takes more than 25 damage from another source, it dies. Otherwise, it takes no damage. So a little bit of different mechanics related to those roles in here. But yeah, you can see really nice art, lots of options, lots of stat blocks. I mean, if you love monsters and want more stat blocks for whatever it is, humans, they've got a human brute, human cutthroat, street magician, deserter guard, lumberjacks. I mean, it's a lot packed into these 20 pages. And that's really cool because you just can never have enough stat blocks, and having some of these roles is good too. I know a lot of people like the roles in 4th edition, so it gives you don't have to use those, but it's nice that they're presented here with some description so that if you want to use them, you can. So look for it in the links below under Monsters Unleashed, Tome of Tyranny, and give it a click. Next, we have the Psychonauts Bestiary, a psionic monster manual for 5th edition by Josh Silverman, with over 40 psionic-themed monsters, 51 pages for $2.99. And a lot of them are adapted from previous editions and a few brand new ones. And it says, challenge your players with strange creatures with unusual abilities. All the creatures are suitable for Dungeons & Dragons, so drop them into your game. It says, this book is for those who are not using the psionic system outlined in the Secrets of Siomark, a psionics handbook for 5th edition. If you're using that book, all of the monsters in this book are also in that book with some slight tweaks. So just something to keep in mind if you purchase that book. So you get to see the interior, which is really colorful already right off the bat. We got some fun artwork. And then it goes into like the Baku, which is the CR10, and the Belgoy, a CR1. Brain Mole, CR18, and just goes through. There's a bunch, so we'll look at one of these in particular here. Let's look at the Bivanen. Dwelling in hot swamplands, Bivanen are intelligent amphibious humanoids. Their fearsome appearance, though, belies their kind, gentle natures. So it's CR14. It's got ooze secretion. Whenever the Bavanin takes damage, the Bavanin takes one fewer hit or one fewer point of damage. And then it's got multi-attack with claw and bite. But then it's got something called an ego whip. One creature the Bavanin can see within 60 feet of it must succeed on a charisma saving throw or take psychic damage, and the next ability check the creature makes before the end of the Bavanin's next turn is made with disadvantage. So some fun stuff. And then like you can see on the Braxet here, it's got a Psychic Crush 3 times a day. One creature the Braxet can see within 90 feet of it must succeed on an intelligence saving throw or take psychic damage and be knocked unconscious until the end of the Braxet's next turn. Creatures who succeed on their saving throw take half damage and stay conscious. So yeah, fun psionic creature stuff going on here, and lots of different creatures. I mean, 40 is a lot of creatures, especially for $2.99. So really cool, definitely a good price point. I think that's a steal of a price point for this, especially for 51 pages. So check it out. It's under Psychonaut's Bestiary in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have the Swarmkeeper Class from Blink Dog Press, Christoph Langham, Emily Nagel, and Megan Lippert. It's $2.99 for 9 pages. And it's a class meant to take the concept of the Ranger subclass introduced in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything and extrapolate it into a full deadly martial class. It intends to fill the role of a steady magic damage dealer and be a good multi-classing option for any relatively wise character. And you can read the entire product in the full-size preview. And it says it was inspired by the Swarmkeeper Ranger, by a homebrew spell made by Emily Nagel for a home game, and by our book, Swarms of the Multiverse. So it's so exciting. One of the best things about being a creator is seeing other people be inspired by your work. So thank you, Blink Dog Press, and all the people involved for being inspired by our book and letting us know. I mean, that's just such a great feeling when you feel like you may have touched someone in a positive way. So thank you. That's awesome. And inside you get 6 different subclasses to go with your class. So very, very cool. And you can see they've got a really nice layout here. And I love that one of them is called the Ornithologist. So that means the swarms are going to be bird related. So obviously I like swarms. We did a whole book on swarms. So it's exciting to see somebody else also doing something on swarms too. So it says multi-classing. So you can multi-class into this, but basically, this creature, or, not creature, this character is going to be connected closely with swarms. And so it says, what if the creatures, if your swarm is what creatures are in the swarm? What is it composed of? How does it affect your character? Where did your swarm originate? Do you view your swarm as a curse, or are you grateful for it? So yes, it's really connected to your character, and that could be so fun for a player. I mean, just imagine the ideas they're going to come up with, like, well, how did I get stuck with this swarm? Or where did it, did I try to make it happen, or did it get thrust upon me, or some combination, or was I born with it, or was it part of my culture where it came from? So many story potentials already just thinking about this as a class, right? And then you see, all the typical stuff you would give the class. So at first level, you choose your host, which represents the creatures in your swarm. Each host offers you additional features when you reach 5th, 9th, 14th, etc. So that would be, your host would be your subclass. At first level, your swarm is held in a container that you are able to carry. This container can be a bag, box, cage, etc. And you can unleash it, and it obeys you. Creatures that are part of it will not willingly leave the container unless instructed to do so by you, unless it's moved away from you and then it tries to get back. But while carrying your container your swarm is in, you can use a bonus action on your turn to unleash it, causing it to leave the container and surround you. If you do, the swarm extends 5 feet from you in every direction, is centered on you, and moves with you. While unleashed, your swarm grants you the following benefits. So you have half cover, your swarm is an extension of your own senses, you have advantage on saving throws, and creatures of your choice that enter the swarm for the first time on their turn or start their turn within it take piercing damage. And then, of course, there's limits on how often you can unleash it. And then when you reach second level, you can communicate telepathically with your swarm. And then at third level, you can use your action to expend a use of your Unleash Swarm feature to command the swarm to do something. So consume, so that means it would go attacked, extend, and you can make your swarm go to a location and project your senses from a separated part of the swarm, seeing and hearing as though you were in the swarm. So you're kind of like using it as another set of eyes, like an arcane eye almost. And then just a bunch of other things that happen. I'm not going to read everything because you can read the whole book here. I want you to come through and read all the little Swarmkeeper class abilities. But there's so many different subclasses here. So I wanted to look at the Ornithologist because I love the concept of that. They all look good. There's an Oozist, a Draconist. So, different types of swarms, but I like birds a lot. So ornithologists are bird keepers and students of their behavior. Swarms of birds are usually quite aggressive early on, caring less about their keeper and more about their tearing apart of their foes. So your swarm is composed of birds. You can project your voice from the birds in your swarm, causing confusion and fear. While your swarm is unleashed, you have advantage on intimidation checks. Additionally, your swarm is especially aggressive. Creatures of your choice that enter the swarm for the first time on a turn or start their turn within it take 2d6 piercing damage rather than 2d4. And then it scales as you go. And then at the final level, when a creature is killed within your swarm while it is unleashed, your birds collect their eyes. Should the creatures have eyes, you can have a maximum of 5 eyes in your collection at a time and can place one of them on a creature or object within reach as a bonus action on your turn. Should you wish to do so without a creature noticing, a sleight of hand check against the target's passive perception is required as normal. You can then, as an action on your turn, expend a use of your Unleash Swarm feature and have your swarm spend the next hour leading you to the location of the eye you placed. So a way to get back to places or, get to places. So fun. I love all of this stuff. There's so much you could do with it. I mean, there's even a swarm of fae in here and discordant happenings that are going to go on, and honey of many kinds with the apiarist, which is beekeepers basically. You could just come up with so many stories, so many backgrounds and different things with this. It's just got so many directions you can take this, and I just I enjoy swarms, and you could even have a whole campaign of swarm stuff with this class. You can have the Swarmkeeper Ranger in there. You could use stuff from Swarms of the Multiverse and just have a whole swarm themed campaign, which could be really, really fun. So get your swarm on with this. I think it could be cool. So look for it in the links below under Swarmkeeper Class and give it a click. Well, that's our last DM's Guild title of the week. Before we move on to DriveThruRPG, consider purchasing Swarms of the Multiverse or any of our books. They are all on sale right now, I think through the end of the month, because they're having a Christmas in July sale. And Swarms of the Multiverse is over 180 pages of everything you could ever want for swarms, including 70 original creatures and their swarm counterparts with over 140 stat blocks, 150 adventure hooks. Each one gets adventure hooks. They have tons of lore, tactics on how, a playlist of how to run them. So it makes it really easy. Bonus magic items, demiplanes, and, diseases and other things connected to these swarms. So whether you want it on print or digital, it's available for you, and it's on sale for the first time ever. It's never been discounted, so you'll want to check it out now while that sale's going on. And that's Swarms in the Multiverse. We also have Feywild Companion, our platinum bestseller, and it is on sale as well. It's over 150 pages, print on demand or digital, and it has a brand new Domain of Delight. It's got subclasses from the Feywild for every single class. It's got magic items, monsters, full adventures, maps, tokens, all together in one volume. So check it out. It is in the links. And then you've got Fizban's Vaulted Draconic Secrets also on sale. Dragon-themed subclasses for every class. Magic items, horde magic items, draconic gifts, a familiar, adventure hooks for all of the material so the DMs can make use of it too. It's just action-packed. Even dragon trinkets are in there. So check that one out. It's on sale. It's already super low price, but on sale as well. Then you got Van Ritten's Libram of Lineages, which goes into the new concept of lineages and gives you 4 conflict-driven lineages that you can thrust upon a character, or a character can choose to use from the beginning, and they will be just so fun to roleplay. And there's optional rules for dealing with lineages as well. And then also on sale, we have Potions Unlocked, which is over 100 pages, print on demand or digital, with everything you could want for potions, with bunches of new potions with thrilling art for each one, including potion locations like a school where you can go to learn about potion making. You can use that with Strixhaven or just as an encounter location. NPCs, fully stocked vendors, brand new plants with artwork for them so that you can craft potions, even some optional rules for potions. And then we've got Secrets of the Draugr, which is a brand new race, combining the Drow and the Duergar into a new and unexpected race with backgrounds and deities and fortune telling and all kinds of goodness in that book as well. And again, all of these are on sale, so might as well grab them at their lowest price, some of them at their lowest prices they've ever been at. And it's part of that Christmas and July sale. And speaking of that, buy these new books, and while you're there, look at the sales, see what else is going on. And if you use the links in the video description, you're going to help the channel because we'll get a small affiliate fee, which is really, really cool, and helps us continue to make books for you and to keep the channel going, because this does take quite a bit of time every week to bring to you. But more importantly, we want to make sure we're supporting these creators and encouraging them to keep creating. So your purchase does that. I mean, it's nothing sadder than putting out a book and having no purchases. It makes you feel like, why did I bother, right? So let's help support these. A lot of these are really inexpensive. So if you can, get out there and help boost these creators. And if you can, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave me a comment. I will respond to you personally, and share the video around so people know about this series and can find all these great titles each week. All right, let's move on to DriveThruRPG. First up, we have the Book of Storms Volume 1 for 5th edition from Cauldronborn, and it's got a suggested price of $1 for 6 pages. And it says, these are simple rules for sea travel. They are designed to be compatible with 5th edition. However, they are easily adapted to other D20 or OSR games. It's got a sample world, new ship's description, new simple rules for sea travel, including weather and supplies, random encounter generators for ships, and generators for quests, freights, and complications. And you can see the whole book in the preview, and it's in spread format. So I'm scrolling right now just so you can kind of see how it's like 2 pages at once. But I want to zoom in so we can read a little bit more. So you've got this map here that kind of shows you where all the different things are. So you've got Kar Balar, City of the Four Winds, a Dragon Turtle Necropolis. It says for each 36 hexes, place 10 points of interest. The rest are the sea wilderness populated by random encounters. There's one main point of light, the central city. So it's giving you kind of an example of how you would basically develop 10 points of interest and then have 36 hexes, and then the rest, see the ones that don't have numbers, those are going to be where you have random encounters or just nothingness, it's calm seas as you travel over. And then you've got some ships, and it shows you how much they cost, what their speed is, like basically 4 days per hex, passengers, cargo slots, and then the stats for the ships as well, so that if they get attacked. And then it shows you how to deal with sea battles, navigation, weather. So choose a destination. After setting sails, one of the PCs present on the ship should perform an intelligence check using navigator tools. Look at the map to see if the area they're passing through gives you advantage or disadvantage, and then tells you if you're lost or if the voyage takes longer or you arrive on time. And then you've got weather like calm, headwinds, storm, all that stuff, supplies, dealing with supplies, and then of course the battles. I'm not going to read it all because I don't want to read the whole book on the video, because we want you to purchase this and support the author, and they've got a suggested price of $1. So, but I mean, I just even love this little hex map, the artwork style of this whole product. So if you're in the market for some simple hex crawl like mechanics for naval stuff, this is a steal of a price to get all of that. They've kept it super simple, which I really like, but yet flavorful enough to be enjoyable. So check it out. It's under Book of Storms in the links below. Give it a click. Next we got Den of Assassins from Bite Sized Gaming. It's $19.99 for the PDF, $34.99 for the softcover premium color book, or you can get a combo for that same price. And it's got a bunch of authors, including Andrew Bashinsky, Zach Goins, Alan Tucker, Francis Atwater, and more. So it says, get ready to hunt the most dangerous prey. Dens of Assassins contains everything you need to bring characters with that very particular set of skills to your 5th edition campaign. Delightfully and playfully vicious, the supplement isn't about killing for fun, profit, and other equally appropriate reasons. Players can easily put their deadly skills to use in the service of good as mercenaries, vigilantes, and in hunting down some of the meticulously detailed and highly dangerous characters included for game master use. It's got 12 new subclasses, 12 elite antagonists, 12 minions, magic items, VTT ready maps, and more killer stuff. And you can see, so this is an example of one of the subclasses. Then you've got one of the NPCs, and then some of the encounter stuff with the maps. Unfortunately, the full-size preview is erroring at the moment, so we can't look at that, but we can zoom in on this page to get some more detail. So the College of Ominous Whistling. Some bards don't rely on an entertainment talent, but rather focus on skills they've honed in their daily life, or as often the case among the whistlers, during criminal activity. Most whistlers start by learning a certain set of signals to warn their allies of danger when keeping lookout, or training to throw their voice to divert unwanted attention. Eventually they find other whistlers and learn deeper, more unsettling ways of using their talent, subtly lining their whistling with dark magic before delivering to unsuspecting ears. So when you join the college at 3rd level, you gain proficiency in the deception skill and in Thieves' Cant. Additionally, when you attempt to hide or use a disguise in a crowded arena or area and fail your check to do so, you can attempt a charisma deception check contested by the noticing creature's wisdom, insider perception. And on a success, you mislead the creature by innocently whistling or by creating a distracting sound away from yourself, and your initial check is considered a success. Also at 3rd level, your unsettling whistling makes enemies doubt their own allies. As a reaction, when a creature you can see takes any type of action to bestow a benefit, such as a spell effect or an extra attack, on its ally, you can expend 1 use of your bardic inspiration and attempt to foil it. The target creature must succeed on a wisdom saving throw, subtracting the result of the bardic inspiration die. On a failure, its action fails. This feature has no effect on it if the target can't hear you. And that's just 3rd level, so that's already fun. I can see where the whistling, doing all this cool stuff with the whistling, and it just fits. I mean, you could see bards and thieves using the whistling to signal, as a lookout or whatever, right? So very cool. At 6th level, you learn to use ominous whistling to draw out your enemies. Once per short rest, you can spend 1 minute whistling a particularly suspicious melody. You can make the whistling audible a minimum of 20 feet away and a maximum of 90 feet away, passing through mundane barriers. Any creature hearing the whistling must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be compelled to investigate either themselves or by sending another creature to the source of the whistling. This is not magical effect, and the creatures can take reasonable actions or routes to conduct their investigation, which is concluded when any of the affected creatures sees the area where the whistling was conducted or is reasonably assured that the area cannot be reached. And then you've got an attention whistle, which you can use your action to produce a particularly sharp whistle that ends with a stun condition it ends the stun condition on all allies within 30 feet that can hear it. Additionally, all creatures within 30 feet that can hear the whistle are roused from any conditions or effects that can otherwise be ended by shaking them, such as being asleep or affected by a hypnotic pattern spell. Once you use this feature, you have to wait until a long rest to use it again. So basically, it's giving you like a range for waking people out of sleep and all that good stuff. I mean, really, really fun. I love the artwork and the layout. I mean, this is some cool stuff. And, you've got a CR5 Bonebreaker Adept NPC that you can have somebody take out, because this is Deadly Assassins, right? You've got this whole ambush location and lair down here. So lots of good stuff. And I like this title. I love the cover artwork too, and the people involved. There's a lot of talented people involved in this, and it's exciting to see this product be released. I definitely want to check it out in more detail. It's 112 pages of goodness, so give it a click. It's in the links under Den of Assassins. Next, we have Doctor Who, Doctors and Daleks Player's Guide. And believe it or not, this is for 5th edition. There have been previous editions of Doctor Who role-playing games that were, sort of a custom RPG. They weren't based on Dungeons and Dragons, directly. They were their own thing. But now, Cubicle 7 Entertainment is bringing you Doctor Who with 5th edition, which is so exciting. I was just thrilled when I heard this because I love Doctor Who, and I like 5th edition, obviously. So the combination is going to be awesome, and the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who's coming up, so having this, there's going to be a lot more interest in it. Russell T Davies is coming back to the series, so a lot of people are going to be thinking about Doctor Who and wanting to do things with Doctor Who. So having this book, and the others that will surely come out in this series is going to be great, because you can indulge your 5th edition fandom and your Doctor Who fandom all in one book, which is so exciting. And I love that the cover has all the Doctors, including one of the newer Doctors that's been introduced in the 13th Doctor's run. So very, very cool. And it's $29.99 for the PDF, which is 332 pages with a lot of cool authors over here for you to look at. And it is a best copper seller already in its first week. It says, the wild adventures of everyone's favorite Time Lord come to the world's most popular role-playing game in Doctors and Daleks. Take your gaming group into the TARDIS and travel anywhere, anywhen. Want to meet Leonardo da Vinci? Or see what life is like in the year 3000? What about another planet entirely? All of space and time is your Venusian macro oyster. But keep your wits about you. There's a lot of danger in the vastness of eternity. So you get streamlined character creation rules to quickly bring to life your new time-traveling adventure. You can create a new companion for the Doctor or build your own Time Lord. Do you want to do a bit of time tourism as part of Team TARDIS, or will you create a group of time agents to fight back against pesky paradoxes? Rules for playing fast-paced combat light sci-fi adventures using 5th edition. Fight like the Doctor with non-lethal weapons, maneuvers, gadgets, and power of emotional and logical arguments, or just run away really fast. A time traveler's treasure trove of technological marvels, including sonic screwdrivers, psychic paper, and time machines. Rules for using and customizing the TARDIS, as well as creating and piloting any other kind of time travel device. Advice on making every Doctor and Daleks adventure feel like you're living in an episode of the TV series. And an expansive look at the history of the Doctor's universe, detailing many of the aliens and creatures the Doctor has encountered across time and space, with Daleks, Cybermen, Weeping Angels, and other aliens in here. So really, really cool. And I love that there's photos. So, if you're a fan of the show, you get to have all these photos to look at as well, which is really cool. So you can see really well organized. You're creating your character, then you've got species, which would be like races, and then your classes like the Charmer, the Empath, the Protector, the Stalwart, the Thinker, Trickster, Quip. So, this is going to be kind of like modern in the sense that it's very 5th edition based, but it's different in terms of classes, right? You got your backgrounds, your equipment, your how to play the game, and all the different checks and things that you're going to have to do. And then time travel, a whole section on the TARDIS, other time machines, creating one, dealing with paradoxes, and then history of things, as well as, what the GM needs. So, and then encounters. So it seems like everything you need to run this is going to be in here. And I love the artwork. I mean, a lot of this is from, past episodes. I mean, I remember this episode. That was a really fun one. And just so much goodness in here to look at. And I love that, seeing the 10th and the 13th Doctor together, and the 9th and the 11th. So just super fun. It says, you probably already know about the Doctor. The Doctor looks human, but has 2 hearts and can regenerate into a completely different body if really badly injured. The Doctor travels through time and space in a ship called the TARDIS. The Doctor can explain the TARDIS better, but it's basically bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Rooms and rooms of it, from libraries to swimming pools, and it's alive. But outside, it looks like an old 1960s police public call box. So this is just going to open the door for so much stuff. I mean, if you can imagine anything, you can do it in Doctor Who, because all of time and space, like literally the beginning of time to the end of time, all these different planets, all these different star bases and moons and places on Earth. I mean, yes, a lot of the stories in Doctor Who take place on Earth, but I mean, you can set an adventure anywhere, so you can really feel, a lot of these licensed settings, you still feel restricted, right? But with Doctor Who, you are unrestricted, because there's so many planets that you could just create that who's going to say in the vast universe that planet doesn't exist, right? You can't go wrong. You can't screw it up, because Doctor Who is just so vast in the universe that it encompasses. And even you could do alternate universes or other dimensions or things like that, I'm sure, too. So and it says, if you're eager to jump straight into the adventure, The Keys of Scarivore, it's a series of linked adventures sending characters across time and space to encounter Zygons, Draconians, Silurians, and eventually unearthing a terrifying ancient evil. So you can get that at their website, and have a whole adventure set up for you too. So whether you want to create your own adventure or use one that's been created for you, you have those options. So I love that. And Doctor Who, as I said, the 60th anniversary is coming up, so there's going to be people discovering Doctor Who for the first time that are going to be returning to Doctor Who. It's going to be all over the place. So if you have this and trying to convince people to play some games with you, this might be a way, especially if you have somebody who maybe has been resistant to Dungeons and Dragons or 5th edition and they like Doctor Who, they talk about Doctor Who all the time, or they like sci-fi. You can say, hey, well, let me just play Doctor Who with you, and then you don't have to tell them that it's 5th edition based. And then as they're playing, you can say, oh, if you're liking this, let me also show you Dungeons and Dragons, because believe it or not, this is based on the sort of structure and foundation of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and that might be a way to just sort of get them involved in D&D too. So many reasons to grab this. Cubicle 7 always does great work, and I'm so happy they're on this project. So check it out. It's under Doctor Who, Doctors and Daleks, in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have Insider 329, Masterpiece Renditions, from Ian Publishing, and Andrew Englebright is the author. It says, there's magic in music, and few melodies contain as much nuanced power as the suite of sublime spells. Play the rousing and rising Accelerando to empower a band of warriors. Unleash the battle cry ballad to rally your forces. Employ the expertise of circular breathing to perform beneath the waves. Cast crowd pleaser to get a party started. Employ a dramatic sting to pluck at a foe's heartstrings. So lots and lots of fun little spells in here. And we can see 2 of the pages of them. So let's look at just a couple of them here. Let's look at Crowd Pleaser. It's a 4th level enchantment for the Bard. It's got a casting time of 1 action, range self, and duration concentration up to 10 minutes. You begin performing a raucous, crowd-pleasing jig. You cannot cast another spell through your spellcasting focus while concentrating on this spell. Whenever a creature other than you enters the spell's area for the first time, or on its turn, or starts its turn there, it must make a charisma saving throw. On a failed save, the creature becomes charmed by you and begins partying. While maintaining concentration on the spell, you can use your bonus action to order all creatures currently charmed by you to act in one of the following ways. So you got conga line, keep the party rolling, mosh pit. So makes the area difficult terrain with the mosh pit, or creatures will not move into obviously harmful areas, but will otherwise follow close behind you, so you can force them to basically follow you with the conga line. So really thematic ways of making difficult terrain or following you, etc. And then You can, at higher levels, you can increase the radius by 10 feet for each slot level. So very cool. So let's look at Battlecry Ballad, 3rd level, Abjuration for Bard, range of self, concentration variable. You fill your allies with glorious honor and thirst for battle using your triumphant rally. Expend and roll a bardic inspiration die to determine the number of rounds you can maintain concentration on the spell. For the duration, each creature you choose within 30 feet of you, including you, gains a bonus to attack and damage rolls equal to half the number of rounds you have maintained concentration on the spell, rounded up, minimum 1. You cannot cast another spell through your spellcasting focus while concentrating on this one. And then as you, the upcasting is that you can do an additional round for each slot above 3rd. So very cool. I love the music theme to this stuff. I mean, a lot of times with the Bard, you just don't feel like there's enough of a musical connection to what you're up to. And having this cool little book of spells for $2.99 to just really give you some fun stuff that makes it feel like things are very musical. Or maybe you want to have like a musical campaign, takes place in a domain of delight where everyone sings, or I know there's a whole musical Feywild adventure out there that does involve singing that we've covered on this series. So many opportunities to use this and bring some magic to your musical magic to your game, and I love it. So check it out. It's under Insider 329 Masterpiece Renditions in the links below, and that's EN5 IDER for Insider. Next we have Olde Swords Reign Rulebook from Fumble Table for $10, author Damian Fagan, and it's 251 pages, and it's based on 5th edition, but designed with emergent gameplay in mind. It's faster, a tad deadlier, and relies more on player creativity to problem solve than the options on a character sheet. Universal mechanics run through the game that speed up gameplay, make improvisation easier, and you can pick up and play any old school module or OSR or adventure, but still have that 5e framework. It can be played with VTT that have 5e rule sets, and most of the rules can also be easily dropped into your regular 5e game. So it talks about what the differences are, and this is a real, I should say, this is not like a new thing. Olde Swords Reign has been around for a while, but this is a new release, and it's very popular. I read lots of good stuff about it. It's got 2 5-star ratings already. So it's got simplified classes and races, only 4 classes and 4 races, but all have a huge amount of flexibility. No subclasses, and you change that, so you can change direction as your character develops, as opposed to being stuck with that. You get classes that stop at level 12. Skills replaced by backgrounds, feats, and hindrances. The feat system allows you to create any character concept you can come up with using the 4 base classes. Hindrances add a little more flavor to make your character feel a little bit more robust. And then you've got simplified DCs, you've got simplified range and movement, over 120 spell levels that go to level 6. You've got monster hit dice, where they all have a D8 hit die. And then you've got simplified monster creation and conversion. So again, I've heard lots of great things about this. If you Google it, it talks about how many people love it. So you could use this either on its own to play OSR modules, or to pick and choose, some homebrew house rules for your 5th edition campaign. It's only $10 to get 250 pages. So very, very cool. But it goes into what it is, and then what are the differences, and then it starts with character creation down here. It goes to the basics, and then your ability scores. A lot of the good stuff, and you get to read 54 pages, so we're going to see quite a lot in here. So let me just scroll down and see what we can share with you. So there's some feats here. So with fighter feats, you've got Battle Cry, terrify all near opponents with a successful charisma roll versus their DC. You and your allies' reactions against them have advantage for 1 full round. So you can see already the influence of 5th edition, right? Because advantage and disadvantage wasn't around in OSR. But it's here, right? So they blended 5th edition with OSR. So very, very cool. Blind fighting, you can close combat, melee fight, or melee melee fight in utter darkness, even magical with no penalty. Bodyguard, once per combat round, you may choose to take damage that would have hit an adjacent ally. That's a cool feat. So that's just the fighter feats. And there's just so much to see here. And I love that there's so much for you to read. Here's the hindrances. So you have an addiction. You're all thumbs. You can't lie. You're forgetful. I started in basic and advanced Dungeons and Dragons times, right? So seeing anything that kind of resembles the old stuff it's just a nostalgia trip for me. So I always like to see people experiment with 5th edition and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see people experiment and publish it for you to try. And so I encourage you to do just that by looking for it in the links below under Olde Swords Reign and give it a click. Next, we have Plug and Play Towns by Beat Garden Games and Zachary Noland, and it is $9.99 for 63 pages. It says, have you ever wanted your towns to feel more like more than a cardboard cutout? Are you struggling to come up with fantastic locations to fight in or NPCs with captivating motives? Have you spent hours creating a fantastic location with a living ecosystem only for the players to leave immediately? And, the author says, as a GM myself, I've struggled with all of the above. After searching for a product to satisfy my needs, I found the content lacking. Therefore, I decided to create it myself. So you get 10 towns with maps, and they're each about 2 to 3 pages long. And it's jam-packed with content. So you get a quick synopsis of the town, 5 important facts about it, 5 important NPCs, 5 places of interest, local specialties, nearby locations, and then 10 rumors. And then you've got custom stat blocks and NPC templates in the appendices, along with 6 magical materials and magic items to give to your players. And then it lists all the different towns here, including 𝙬𝙬𝙬, a humble port city filled with hedonism, crime, arcane tutelage, and a fire cult. And then you have 𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬, a dwarven community who thrives on exploiting the runestones of a lost lizard folk civilization. Secretly, a coven of hags manipulate the community. And then all the way down to Roxfall, this tax haven for adventurers was built in the underground and acts like a hub all over the world, named after a miles-long waterfall. It resides next to an underground sea with countless treasures. So, such cool stuff. You can never have enough towns. People are, we need to go to a town. We need to fill up our inventory. We need some supplies, whatever, right? So you can plop these anywhere. I love the variety because you've got port cities, dwarven communities, underground cities. So wherever you're at, you're going to have some options. So here's 𝙬𝙬𝙬, and it gives you the population around 24,000, the government, a Majocratic Republic parliamentary. Defenses, they've got a city watch and a Leviathan core. And then they trade magic items, glass tools, taverns and brothels, practical spellcasters, etc. And then it gives you the 5 facts, including everyone in 𝙬𝙬𝙬 has some connection to the harbor as well as magical abilities. This is due to a rich history and tutelage at the Aquan Academy of the Arcane. And then important NPCs, the first one is Lord Mage Architellus, a gnome mage. The current elected mage of 𝙬𝙬𝙬, Architellus, is a fickle ruler who loves to have his hands on everything around the city. This often leads to conflict between the government and the city's businesses. As Lord Mage, he is leader of the Leviathan Corps, the magical army of 𝙬𝙬𝙬. And then places of interest, the first one is Heat Harbor. As a financial heart of the city, it is almost impossible to escape Heat Harbor's grasp. As a citizen of 𝙬𝙬𝙬, Heat Harbor provides both a place for sailors to relax, as well as taverns, brothels, and other pleasures of the flesh. If there's a business to be conducted, it can be found in Heat Harbor. And then under local specialties, the local specialty dish is fish cakes with a side of fried potatoes and cheap ale. Decent meals typically go for 2 silver pieces. And then locations, the world's vein, the giant underwater hydrothermal vent, provides the city with year-round clear waters. A fire currently resides in the many caverns within the vein, worshipping a great elder elemental that resides dormant within. Not many know its existence, and therefore most assume magic generates the clear waters. Fire magic cast within the world's vein ignores water's natural resistance and deals additional fire damage equal to the caster's con modifier. And that's just one. location. There's a bunch in here. And then 10 town rumors. The first one is there are rumors that the keep of the War Mage is active again. I wonder if 𝘏𝙗𝙗 has returned. And then you've got a basic NPC spellcasting template. So you can quickly, based on the CR, come up with what spells they have and what their spell save is and all that. That's super, super helpful. And, we just read one of the 5 facts, one of the important NPCs, one of the places of interest, one of the specialties, one of the locations, and one of the rumors. So, and they were all great. So imagine when you read all of them, how fleshed out and full the city's going to look. And then you've got the map of it, which looks gorgeous as well. And it gives you, the points of interest here. So check it out. Come read all about 𝙎𝙗𝙗. Get all the details on it, because you get to see the full 𝙎𝙗𝙗 experience here in this preview. But I think $9.99. That's like $1 a town basically. That you can just drop in or build your own campaign around or put in your own homebrew world. And I think all of these sound so interesting and definitely worth getting. So check it out. It's under Plug and Play Towns in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have Sunken Memories from Beyond the Screen, $7, and author Aviad Tal and Dr. Bieber. It says, don't be fooled by the still waters and foul scents. Life thrives in the outback. For how long, however, that is hard to tell. The Valtiri outback is a swath of swampland filled with man-eating creatures, old ruins, and unbridled magic. Many secrets hide in the outback, waiting to be uncovered by intrepid adventurers. The supplement includes 2 complete and play-tested adventures, as well as 11 original creatures, several magic items, factions, and locations to inspire exploration and conflict. There's 2 encounter maps and 1 large dungeon map. Each map is available in higher resolution for print and lower resolution for VTT. There's unique factions and fantastic locations inside. So you can see, here's the index of all the stat blocks and all the adventure stuff going on. So there's a first level adventure with the Wandering Ogre. And you can see really cool Boggs Cave map. And the stat blocks 1.4 and 1.8 on the CRs. So yeah, pretty good detail. And then you get into the 𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬, which is the second one. So you get to see quite a bit of the book. It says this short mini adventure starts with a social encounter with an ogre that has been driven away from his cave by kobolds. The ogre holds an ominous staff, which he is willing to trade if the characters help him reclaim his cave. So that could be really fun. And let's read what the other one is too. We'll go down here. The 𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬, making their homes on the back of giant turtles, the lizard folk clans of the outback are the swamp's valiant protectors. Their culture celebrates life and provides hope against the growing enclave of despair that festers in the outback. The hunters slay abominations and rid out diseased plant life, while the Mistcallers, the spiritual leaders of the clans, perform rituals to ward off unwanted spirits and nurture their favored ones. So yeah, you're getting some really cool locations. Really look at this cool artwork with all these lizard folk. Getting some adventures, maps. I think this is a really good supplement because you're going to get so much stuff that you can repurpose or just play out the adventures as is, or even just indulge the outback setting as a location. And then if they happen to drift into the adventures, they can. Whatever you want to do, this is a number of directions you can go with this. So very, very cool. Check it out under Sunken Memories in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we've got Ultimate Character Races for 4th edition. I want to make sure you hear that, 4th edition. And this company, Sage of Sorcery Productions, has been releasing some stuff for 4th edition, which is really cool. We don't often get OSR, we've even had some 3rd edition semi-regularly on this series, but it's rare that we get 4th edition, and when we do, it's usually from Sage of Sorcery. So exciting when that happens, because I know there's people out there that prefer 4th or love 4th or still play 4th, and this gives you 22 races with unique racial traits, 60 feats to further enhance your characters, 10 racial paragon paths, racial power options, weapons, and equipment to complement the new races, as well as 20 new magic items. And you can see the races are ranging from Eric Cockra all the way down to Volodnai. And there's things like Sea Elf, Polar Elf, Leprechaun, Kinder, Gif, Glimmerfolk, all that stuff, Catfolk in here. And then you got your Paragon paths, etc. So, I mean, just exciting to see that these things are coming back. for you for the 4th edition. I mean, some of these have probably been things people have wanted for a long time to play that. And we know about the 𝙤𝙘𝙢𝙤, so I'm just going to read some of the adventurers here. So 𝘏𝙤 is a rogue scout for the Tercerian Empire on the world of 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙚. Her family came from an enclave high in the nearby Sola Mountains of the Battled Hills and settled in the city proper for greater convenience and luxury. 𝘏𝙤's duties include flying from watchtower to watcher, carrying messages and reports, as well as keeping a lookout for unusual activity along the Imperial Highway. 𝘏𝙤 longs for adventure in the wider world, and she knows it is only a matter of time before skirting the edges of the city-state aren't going to be enough to satisfy her wanderlust. Recently, she has observed several caravans with enormous crates owned by the metal-coined dwarven clan traveling the highway, but they seem to vanish with the light of day. So, fun stuff. It's nice having 𝙤𝙘𝙢𝙤, leprechauns, centaurs, all these races that, maybe didn't get a chance to appear in 4th edition, but now they're here with some gorgeous artwork, all from Sage of Sorcery Productions, and only $7.99 to get 102 pages of them. So, check it out. It's in the links below under Ultimate Character Races. Give it a click. Next, we have World of Farland Player's Guide 2. Even more class options, spells, and other material to help your characters fight evil or join in the world of Farland. And it's $5.99 for the PDF, but you can get all variations, hardcover, softcover, premium color, standard color, ranging from $18.99 to $39.99. And then most of the combos are all the same price to get the PDF and the printed book. So if you decide to get a printed book, you can get the PDF along with it for the same price, which is cool. Authors S. Baker and, of course, World of Farland. And it's an award-winning setting for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And they're almost always bestsellers, it says here, which is cool. So you've got new race options, including Dusk Elves, Aquatic Halflings, and Save Trolls. There's an original new class item or option called... I'm reading it wrong. It says original new class options like the bards that know true names, fighters that can win battles, which is to stare, and rangers that can turn into werewolves. Awesome. New backgrounds like the denizen of the deeps, the exile, and raised by monsters. And then you've got some original customization options like agile combatant and blood magic feats, new spells, an expansion to their popular herbalism system, including new herbs and concoctions, and an appendix giving elven grammar and a lexicon. So this is just packed with stuff. And it says it won't even, some of it's never going to be on the website, like the 4 new race options and the 2 new class options for the monk and the rogue, the feat, the spell, 2 of the spells. There's some player maps to expand the world. So yeah, Farland is fun. I've looked at some of their stuff previously, and they always have such cool stuff. I mean, look at this art. It's just really fun. I like this style of drawing. It's just really cool. And then you get into some of the interior artwork, but you can see they've got the Westlands human, the Dusk Elves, the Deep Dwarves, and then you've got Save Trolls, 𝘏𝙤 𝘏𝙤𝙤, and then classes, you get some subclasses, of course, and then some features for the classes as well, like the true names that they talked about. But you get the College of Naming, which would be the true name, Fire Domain, Travel Domain, Water Domain, Circle of Pattern, Circle of Stone. I mean, sounds good from the names. And then you got options, backgrounds, spells, just lots of stuff. So yeah, I think if you are looking for a cool campaign setting to get into, with really fun maps, like look at all this, Bodop's Hut and Rupbaden Hill, you can really dive deep into this and enjoy it. And they have other material too for Farland, so you could really just absorb all of that. And everybody plays the WotC locations. It's nice to mix it up and try some of the third-party settings. So Farland could be a really good one for you to get into. Like they've got these other ones down here: the World Farland Game Master's Handbook, the World Farland Campaign Setting, and then the original Player's Guide with player options. So you get those, and you could really just have a great time. And hopefully at some point World of Farland will do like maybe a bundle down here where you can get all of the books for, a discount. That'd be awesome, as a good entry point for people to invest in it. But I love the look of what they do. I love the creativity behind it, and I think it's going to be just so fun for you. So check it out under World of Farland Player's Guide 2 in the links below. Give it a click. Next we got the World of the Sixth Cycle. It's a gazetteer for Odysseys and Overlords, by Travis Leahy and some other authors, and it's a gritty OSR fantasy setting, and there have been a bunch of gazetteers for it, but this is now combining all those into one, and updating and all of that good stuff. So it's really cool, and it's only $9.95 to get all of these. That's a lot of gazetteers for $9.95, so over 120 pages. Really, really cool. So looking inside, you can see each one of the gazetteers comes out. So here's the Borderlands one, which goes the Centaur Borderlands, and it goes into all the details of it, the places you'll find in it, the populations, some of the monsters you'll see there, and then the map, etc. And this is just one of the gazetteers, but then there's so many you can see in this list, like all of these, right? So many. So that's huge, especially for OSR to have so much backstory, for this stuff, because OSR doesn't get as many releases as like 5th edition does, right? But you can see, like, I'm just scrolling through, like, how much material just for this first one that you're going to get. And then you get your map of what it looks like. And then, of course, there'll be probably one, there's one for Chandra's Haven. So all these connected locations get their own gazetteer. So wherever you want to adventure in this world of the Sixth Cycle, you're going to have some information to guide you to start with, to weave in through your stories or whatever, whatever you want to do with it, or create your own adventure. Because they've got things like Frogshed, population 1100, tribe composition 85% Taki, 10% Tarpan, 5% other. Frogshed is the seat of what passes for government in the Borderlands. The elders who meet there are generally respected by the other tribes, though they have no power to pass laws, prosecute criminals, or issue edicts that carry any weight beyond that of the social mores of obeying the elderly. As the Elder Council is well aware of their lack of temporal power, they wield their sentimental influence very carefully, asking only what they feel they absolutely must of their people. Fortunately, the taxation arrangement with Chandra's Haven has proven extremely fruitful for the Borderlands. With the high number of adventurers paying taxes, most centaurs do not need to trouble themselves with tasks such as agriculture or rearing livestock, freeing their attention to pursue other pastimes and agendas. So, very detailed. I love that. I can picture everything. There's even a section on centaur bard songs, and then you got monsters, Azaban down here. They look similar to raccoons with gray, brown, or mottled fur. They have furry tails with ringed or mottled patterns and dark rings of fur around their eyes. They typically stand on their hind legs, but are capable of moving on all fours, especially when climbing trees. So, just lots to be had here, and Travis Leahy is such a good writer. I just know that this could be sold for more than $9.95 for sure. And it's great to have it here for just $9.95 to get all of those gazetteers in one book. So definitely need to pick this up. It's under World of the Sixth Cycle in the links below. Give it a click. Well, that was our last new title. Let's sneak peek our discount for next week. It's the Necromancer class on DM's Guild from Dustin Harriman, and it gives you a brand new class for you to play called the Necromancer, and it's 23 pages for it. So you're going to get to cast spells, sling curses, raise the dead to serve you, manipulate the undead, and sap life from your enemies. So it's a complete class with subclasses, all different kinds, including a Golem Lord, an Exorcist, Reaper, really fun subclasses. And it's on sale right now, but our discount next week is going to be even greater than the current sale price. So you want to make sure you're following us at Splinterverse on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, so you can get those discounts every Monday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. and they only last for about a week. And so, yeah, we talk about them every Friday as well, but usually then you only have a few days to take advantage after that. So make sure you are getting those discounts and taking advantage of them before they're gone. Many of them are beyond the sale prices that automatically happen on these sites. So don't miss out. This is your chance to get these things super, super cheap and very limited. So some of them are limited in number as well. So we will give you the details on this next week, Monday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on all of our channels. So be there and take advantage of that. Well, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave us a comment, and remember the Christmas and July sale is going on right now on both of these sites. So any shopping you do is going to probably be less expensive than usual because almost everything is on sale. So click those links below and do your shopping with us so we can get a small affiliate fee from those purchases. And all of our books are on sale. Every one of our 6 titles, including Swarms of the Multiverse, discounted for the very first time ever. So be sure to check that out and grab it while it's on sale, and click all the wonderful titles we've covered this week. We want to support these creators, and they're just great. There's so much great stuff every week that you want to add to your collection as a DM or player. So be sure to do that, and tell your friends about the series so that we can get more people watching and finding out about these awesome titles. And if you are a creator, keep on trucking, keep on creating. We're going to be watching for your stuff, and people will be interested. So just keep going. You can do this. You've got this. And until next time, all of you have a great time with these books, and happy adventuring.